In this short video, I'm going to be talking about a subject that is typically overlooked, and that is suburbia.
Oh, hell no.
Now, suburbia, it can be a nice place to settle down and have a family, or is it? Now, suburbia is bad for several reasons. There's no access, with it being poorly designed. And I'm also going to be explaining how European suburbs have good access and they're greatly designed. Chapter 1. What is wrong with suburbia? American and Canadian suburbia, it's almost dystopic. When you're in residential areas with the homes, it's just repeating after repeating on winding roads, which are overall very confusing to navigate if you don't know the street names, and there are cars just driving through. Sometimes, on the edges of those residential areas, there's not even sidewalks. You have to walk down the street. And I live in one. And it gets really confusing sometimes. And when you're in the more urban areas of the suburbs, sure, there may be sidewalks, but they're small, confined, very cracked. And also, if there are bike lanes, they're going to be on the side of the road, and they're going to be small, right next to very busy traffic. As well, since I live in Winnipeg, I see this a lot. On bike lanes, there are literally puddles, and sometimes there are drainage systems. I don't know if that's common in other cities, but once I was driving down there, and I hit a drainage system. I was just on the road for a second, and I fell onto the concrete and I got all dirty. Me personally, that's just a little problem, but there's a lot of other problems too. Because it's literally only navigable by cars. You can drive your car for 15 minutes to get to your local Walmart or something. But you're going to have to stop after stop waiting for people to cross the busy roads and with all the confined, confusing traffic. Sometimes, if you're in a really big city, there are literally going to be highways cutting through your residential area because you have nothing more to navigate through. You have no more room because you've used it all up for dystopian homes. Now, in Chapter 2, I'm going to continue with why European suburbs are way better, and probably going to explain even more why these American suburbs are so bad and how there's no access. European suburbs are overall way better than American suburbs. Like I said, American suburbs in the residential areas, they're really dystopic. I literally live in one in Winnipeg, which is in Canada, but Canada and the USA suburbs are quite similar. And if you go into the more residential spots, they're just large stores after stores, not really shops anywhere where you can go conveniently. Sure, if you have a vehicle, you can go conveniently, but if you don't have a vehicle, which most people do in the suburbs, you would have to live in the downtown region where shops are more prevalent. But what if we can have that everywhere in the city? Now, this is why European cities are better. Most of the time, the homes are a lot more not patterned as in you have one home here and then you have an apartment block here and another home behind, they're not in a pattern. And that's not what makes them look so non-dystopic. Actually, it partially is, but actually, it mainly is, actually. But my point being, there are shops way closer. You'd see intersections, they typically have roundabouts, which is something we really need on these roads, and they're way better for walking. You can walk over to a shop in 1 minute or less. I will literally put up photos about how they are way better. Right here. Yeah, that's 30-second walk. And second, the roads are a lot more confined. Sure, there's room for 2 cars, but it leaves room on the side of the road for 3 meters of walking space and sidewalks for bikes. Mainly because bikes are way more common in these European cities, which is a good thing because first off, we're not using all these cars for pollution. Second off, it's safer for kids. Kids can actually run around and not get lost. They can go to shops, they can buy stuff. I'm just a kid. We literally have to cross tons of busy roads just to get to school. Now, I get it. European suburbs are better. But do you want to know why they make them better? They literally have, most of the time, 40-kilometer maximum speed limits on their roads. That's like way better. Like literally, I almost got hit by a UPS truck. No signal, just turning straight, right on the Ward, just speeding through. Ward's a street I live by. In turn, European suburbs are so much better. Like, you can look at these images I've sent. Man, but one last thing. This thing just drives me crazy. This image here, I'm not joking. Remember it? That's a real image from Mississauga. Mississauga's like right outside of Ontario. Not Ontario. Like kind of right outside of Ontario. Right next to Toronto on the outskirts of Ontario. Like it's close.